You're listening to Trueheart. Amy and Scott Mallon dive deep with celebrities, mavericks, visionaries, and real-life heroes to find out what sets their souls on fire. Here's Amy and Scott.
We're back, everyone. We hope you had an amazing holiday season.
Happy New Year.
It's 2022. Let's make it a great one.
It's our season 2. Premiere of season 2. We made it through season 1.
That's right. And if you love the show, which we really hope you do, please go subscribe wherever podcasts are found. You can always tune in to see our beautiful faces and the beautiful faces of our amazing guests on YouTube for the full experience. And don't forget to leave us a great review and a 5-star rating. We would really appreciate it.
And today's episode couldn't think of a better guest to kick off season 2 than our good friend Elliott Yamin, who was crushed it on American Idol and has gone on to have a really successful music career. But more importantly, is just an incredible human and has incredible stories and things to say about American Idol and his time since American Idol. So it's really been a fascinating interview.
Today's episode is the soulful one, and we're so excited to welcome our good friend Elliott Yamin to the show. Elliott sang his way into the hearts of America on season 5 of the hit television show American Idol, finishing in 3rd place in one of the closest outcomes in Idol history, where less than 1% separated the votes of all top 3 contestants. His debut album hit number 3 on the Billboard album chart and was the highest debuting album by an independent artist in SoundScan history. The self-titled disc achieved gold status in the US and Japan and yielded the platinum hit, Wait For You. Elliott has released 3 follow-up albums, which are a collection of emotive originals highlighted by his soulful and evocative voice. Elliott continues to tour domestically and internationally, which have also included 3 trips to Africa as a spokesman for the Malaria No More Foundation. Elliott donates his time and talent to support a variety of charities, relief groups, and peace organizations. Having been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 15, he has worked tirelessly as an activist and spokesman for the American Diabetes Association and the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation to help create awareness and raise money for research. So let's check out our chat with Elliott. Happy New Year, Elliott. We are reunited and it feels so good, my friends.
Reunited and it feels so good.
All our listeners are so lucky because I was about to sing that and then Elliott did it.
That would have been horrifying, baby.
We would have lost all our viewers in 5 seconds into the show.
I have to ask you,
I'm now responsible for saving the entire entity.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you that up front. Yes, you are. You have broad shoulders. That's your responsibility, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your music because that is one of your biggest gifts. So I grew up watching Star Search, in the 80s. And obviously so many amazing, talented performers came from that show, Beyonce and Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and many others. And American Idol was in that same vein, launching so many careers. So what were the biggest lessons that you learned from your time on Idol?
Oh, well, I think first and foremost, what I realized was what a gift my voice is. I think because it's something I've always been able to naturally do, and I haven't really had to, let's say, learn it or work that hard to hone it. I sort of took it for granted growing up, and it was just something I could always do and do well. So that being said, it took me going onto that show and sharing it and understanding and to have a better understanding of how much my voice can change the world in the smallest way possible, right? And so that was the biggest eye-opening thing for me, was to realize I could really touch people in so many different ways, just by doing something that I've always done my whole life. So that I think was first and foremost. And yeah, it was just. It was.
Your voice is obviously like unbelievable. I mean, I remember I watched that season, and I was like blown away by your performances and your voice. It's just like honey. Can I say the word honey?
You can.
Because it's like there's something about it that's just so it's so full of soul, and it just like flows so beautifully. I mean, it's a little like mine, but you know, mostly yours.
Mostly mine. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that.
Well, I think, look, there are so many people that have beautiful voices in the world, but I think why I love yours, Elliot, is your tone is so unique
Yeah.
and special.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else that sounds like you. So, when we listen to your music and rock out to it at home, there's no doubt that it's an Elliott Yamin song when your music comes on. There's other songs that you can play. And if you haven't listened to the record in a while, you might be like, wait a minute, who's singing that? And certain artists kind of start to sound the same. But your tone is so unique and special. It's one of
true.
those like 1 in a billion voices.
It's
I don't
true.
think there'll ever be another you in music. It's true.
Yeah, and it's 100% true because there's so many popular, like really talented singers, but they do all sound very, very similar. You're like, I don't know who that is, but your one of your songs comes on. It's instantaneous. That is one of a kind voice, and it's spectacular. So,
Thanks, you guys. You're making me blush over here.
true though. It's
I will
true.
say this. I will say this though. One of the things I learned that was really important for me because I had little to almost zero experience in performing, and performing in front of audiences. Aside from the occasional drunken karaoke, that was really the extent of my experience, right? So, also what a major tool that I learned is I always say this, like anyone who can sing or who has a voice and can sing, but there's a major difference between just singing in the shower or in your car or even for your friends and family, than as opposed to singing for an audience or singing on a record and really learning how to perform what you're singing. And that was something that I had to learn from scratch. And I owe all of my skills that I've learned as far as like how to command the stage and emote and really sing, make that connection, right? Because that's really what it's all about. Make that connection with the listener. I had to learn that on the fly, and I'm forever grateful for that sort of boot camp experience that we all of us, got on American Idol. Obviously everyone had their own level of experience, right? But I was one of those that just had none. So I was a sponge. I learned so much, and yeah, I mean, I think naturally, just because of the life that I've had, which hasn't been, particularly easy, but it hasn't been that bad and that hard either. Life is hard in general, right? But I think all of that kind of comes out naturally when I sing, singing whatever. But there's a major difference between singing and then performing. And so I really had to learn how to do that on American Idol if I wanted to stick around for a while. And so, yeah, and I wouldn't have really known how to do that without being a part of that wonderful show,
That's really amazing because I didn't know that. I mean, obviously we're friends and I've known you for a long time, but I actually didn't know that. The bravery that takes to go on a national, like one of the top shows in the world, and kind of be like, I know I can sing, but I don't know all of these other skills that go along with it, and be willing to make mistakes and learn it on the fly in a high pressure cooker situation like that. That's extraordinary. And not only did you have to learn that, but then you went all the way to the end, which says that you did it. You were actually super successful on learning how to do that. Because, and that's just to me. I just want to say that's incredible. I could never do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I would have told you that I could never do that either. In fact, I would say that constantly to my friends who would try to force me to go do it. Like I can't do that. That's not. I don't know what I'm doing out here. I just sing at parties, and when you guys make me. You know, like I don't have that kind of experience. So yeah, that's what amazes me the most about that whole experience was the fact that I like held on long enough to make it to the end. And yeah, there were a lot of mistakes, trust me. But I was old enough to have had developed thick enough skin to where, you just gotta let it roll off. You gotta make lemonade, right? Like that's another thing I learned was how to roll with mistakes. I mean, people, even the most experienced top charting selling artists in the world still forget lyrics and or muffle a song here and there, and they just keep on rolling with it. And most of the time, people don't even, people on the other side in the audience don't even realize it. But you can't let that affect your performance. It's just so cliche, but the show always must go on. So that's another thing, another tool that I learned, being on the show, like in real time, which was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what that show pulled off, taking people who didn't have the experience of performing under the bright lights and in front of thousands of people, live in a room, and turning them into superstars. And your season obviously was so competitive because you had you and Taylor and Katherine and Ace and Chris Daughtry. I mean, it was an unbelievable group of talent that came out of that show and just launched so many incredible careers. Um, Off of your season, who do you still keep in touch with, and what do you think have been some of like the highest highs of your friends from the show?
I mean, well, yeah. So I still keep in touch with Taylor and Chris every now and again. Katherine McPhee, Paris Bennett, um, Paris's mom, Nisi, Bucky Covington. We still keep in touch. Ace, I still keep in touch with. Ace's brother, I probably keep in touch with more just because he's local and lives here in LA. But yeah, we're all pretty tight still to this day, even though we all live in different parts of the country. That's just an eternal fraternity, that we'll always be able to share that connection and that likeness, that we all went through that machine together and came out on the other side all right. And a lot of us did more than all right. So I think, yeah, I mean, to speak to everyone's individual successes post American Idol season 5 is just a testament to not just the eyes and the ears that the show has for finding talent, but for honing the talent and for and for the talent in general that I got to sort of also learn from. I mean, I have to tell you, like, it's just, I know I keep harking keep coming back to this, but it really was like like going to music school, for me at least. You had guys like Taylor Hicks and Chris Daughtry, and they've been playing shows, touring, making records, gigging around the country for years prior to being on the show. So they had a lot of experience, and they knew what they were doing. I, again, did not. But I also learned, I mean, not only was the show really good at taking our sort of our weaknesses, so to speak, and working on them, but just I learned so much from my my peers on the show. Paris was like, she was like 15 to 16-year-old kid, but she grew up in a musical family, so she had no fear. She knew exactly what she was doing. I learned from her how to perform on a stage in front of an audience. She was so calm and cool, and I mean, you could just, she was so experienced and wise beyond her years. But guys like Taylor was just a master performer. He still is. So is Chris and Katherine McPhee. She also grew up in a musical family, so they brought all that experience to my experience, and I also soaked all that up too, and I learned from them individually too. So um, I couldn't have been with a better group of artists to learn from and to to inspire me to keep going and to step my game up, and that's how it was. Every week we were just performing sort of against our last performance, trying to one up ourselves, so to speak. We weren't competing against each other. We were kind of competing against our last performances and what could we do better? It's just like, Scott and I, we always talk sports, and we're big sports enthusiasts. And it's just, I kind of liken it to being on a sports team. It's like, you go back, you watch the tape, you watch the film, you see what could I have done better here with the mic? Why was I take your hands out of your pocket? Okay, take the mic off the stand. Where are you your movements here and there? I had to learn all of that stuff, and every week, I kept learning more and more, and specifically what not to do on stage. But it was great. It was great, and I don't know where I'd be today without, forget about the exposure the show gave me, but just the toolage, the tools and the resources that I got for free, by the way, from American Idol.
Well, I think one of the things that endeared people to you when they were watching your journey on the show was that you had this natural ability, this, God-given gift, but you were rough around the edges and you were learning how to perform while we were all watching. And I think that's what made you a fan favorite. People were rooting for you because week after week, we saw immense growth. Like, you were taking those notes. It was obvious you were watching the tape back and learning and incorporating, the judges' suggestions. And by that final performance, it was like, holy shit, this guy is a superstar. And to see where you started with just like the raw talent and being a diamond in the rough, and then where you ended up to then have this successful career, it was like, this amazing, like, masterclass in college education that you got while the world was watching. It was absolutely incredible.
Also that you're just so authentic. You didn't put on any airs about trying to pretend like you knew what you were doing. Like, you were authentically yourself,
and you were humble.
And I think that's a beautiful story that people like hooked into as well, like, because they already loved your voice. But I mean, I do remember, like, you get these like kind of comments. Sometimes they were like, whichever judge, Simon or whatever, and you'd be like, okay, and you'd work on it next week. But it's crazy, like, you telling me this stuff about, the mic stand and this and that, and to have to remember the lyrics, sing everything on key, do your thing with all the lights, and then worry about like details that most people like me wouldn't even realize unless it was like a total mess up.
Yeah.
Like, that is crazy in front of millions of people. That kind of, like I said, pressure cooker. I just feel like, man, I mean, obviously you're lucky that you got to go through that experience, but we were also, as fans, lucky because we got to see people who otherwise we might never have seen before, and get to see them now go off and have careers that, everyone on the show deserved to have, but might not have had that ability to do it without it. So it's really kind of a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really was. And I don't want to sell myself short here. I did work really hard to to try and learn as much as I could and apply it to my performances. So that being said, I mean, up until that point, I that stuff I would have never thought about. You know what I mean? I didn't really have those opportunities to even think about that. Where am I walking during this line that I'm singing? Which way am I looking? How am I going to hold the mic? Is it going to be on a stand? Am I going to hold it? At what point in the song am I going to take the mic off? These are all things that that you think about and try to perfect before you actually hit the stage, and now it's just second nature, right? It's just sort of it just kind of comes with the act, but yeah, I mean, yeah. And that part was really, like I said, just learning everything in front of, millions of people. It was very, very Truman Show-esque, if you will. But it was real and it was raw. And yeah, I'm just forever grateful for it.
I mean, most people don't know this, but who don't know you, but we know you, and we know that you are the exact same person in real life that you were on the stage. Like, you weren't putting on any airs. You were just super humble and authentic. And for me, that's what those are the kinds of people I want to, like, support, because I hate the cheesy kind of like, oh, I'm, so cool and whatever. And you can just see it coming a mile away and it's slimy. You're authentic, you're real, and your voice complements that, because your voice is so authentic and soulful. So I think that's why, your music is so great, because it's the whole package. Now, like you say, like you put in that work. You did things that most people would never dream of having the confidence, the bravery to get up in front of millions of people and do. You got this amazing experience on American Idol. You crushed it. You learned some amazing things. You already had the amazing voice.
You've toured the world. You've put out 4 incredible albums. So what's next?
What's next is this year I'm really going to dedicate time. I would say more time, but just time in general, to getting more creative, getting back to creativity. I've already sort of started to get back there, and I've recorded a couple of tunes for a couple of different jazz artists. I've got a couple feature records coming out sometime later this year. But I really want to get back to writing, co-writing, and co-creating some new music for myself and for anyone else who would listen. So that's a goal of mine this year, is to get back. It's been a little tough. Time has never been more precious since I've become a dad. So, but she's getting she's getting a little older, and she's getting a little older now, and a little more self-sufficient, and that's enabling both Karen and I to pursue some of our own personal work stuff easier,
Absolutely. We know, we've been there.
Yeah. And how has becoming a dad, Elliott, changed your life and your view of the world?
Wow. In such a positive way, I'll tell you that. It has really it's really made me more accountable and responsible. I've never really been much of a planner per se. I've always sort of flown by the seat of my pants, and I've always had, one foot out the door, ready to travel anywhere I can to share my gift and play shows. And now I've definitely become more responsible, and life is just so much more rewarding now. Having this little human that you're responsible for has really made life worthwhile.
This Saves Lives is a ridiculously delicious food brand that gives back. Every single purchase sends life-saving food to a child in need. Co-founders Kristen Bell, Ryan Devlin, Todd Grinnell, and Ravi Patel launched This Saves Lives with a simple motto: buy a bar, feed a child, we eat together. Now, with more than just bars, their products contain premium ingredients and are non-GMO, gluten-free, and kosher dairy. Their unique line of kids products all contain 1 full serving of fruits and vegetables and are safe for school. To buy their ridiculously delicious snacks, head on over to thisSavesLives.com.
Are you still wiping your butt with all that toilet paper you hoarded last year? How's that going for you? Let me introduce you to a new way to clean after you handle your business. Meet Hello Tushy. Tushy is the modern bidet that easily clips to any toilet and installs in just 10 minutes. Starting at just $99, Tushy sprays a precise stream of clean water and washes away all of that literal crap that toilet paper leaves behind. Upgrade your bathroom experience by going to HelloTushy, TUSHY.com. That's hellotushy.com. Tushy saves the environment and reduces your carbon butt print. Tushy saves you money on toilet paper, and Tushy saves your butt. Go to Hello Tushy, that's TUSHY.com. Stop wiping, start washing with Tushy. For over a decade, lifestyle brand Half United has been using fashion to feed people all over the world. To break the cycle of generational poverty, the community provides gainful employment to local artisans in vulnerable communities who create their handmade and sustainable products. For every Half United product purchased, 7 meals are given to a child in need. Half United has donated over 1 million meals to date. Shop their beautiful jewelry, teas, handbags, and home accessories at halfunited.com and help fight global hunger.
Say ciao to tradition and hello to your new favorite plant-based Italian bistro in Los Angeles, Brothers Meatballs. Brothers Meatballs was founded by brothers and food industry veterans Mauro and Sergio Corbia, who hail from the Isle of Sardinia, Italy. When they joined forces with second-generation Italian chef Mark Middleman, their self-proclaimed brother from another mother, the concept for Brothers Meatballs was born. Mauro was the founder and creator of Mauro's Cafe inside Fred Siegel, a long-standing LA hotspot. Dissatisfied with the amount of plant-based dining options reminiscent of the home-cooked meals their mother once made, the brothers were determined to create a menu so delicious it would appeal to herbivores and omnivores alike. Inspired by the food Mama so lovingly prepared for Sunday suppers, these meatballs are a modern take on a family classic. All menu items are 100% plant-based and made with Mama's secret ingredient, love. Angelinos can order lunch and dinner Wednesday through Sunday at brothersmeatballs.com.
I wanted to mention that it's funny because I think we even had this conversation before. You went down this road of being a dad, and I think I mentioned you can tell the difference in energy between a guy who's a dad and a guy who's not a dad, and it's like dad energy or whatever. But you go through something. I think it's really where you become a man. Because before then, life is just about you and you're the center of your universe, and whatever you want to do, you do. And then all of a sudden, when you have a child, it's like, oh my God, like I have to put those things not aside, because you can still pursue your dreams, but you just know that heavy responsibility of taking care of someone else that means more to you than your own life. And there's just no way you can tell someone that. You have to go through it. You have to just see your own child look at you with those eyes and then be like, okay, I'm not the most important thing in the universe anymore. And that's, I think, where you really grow and become a full-fledged adult.
Yeah, energy or lack thereof for a few years, right? But no, dude, like, okay, so I know it's never too late to have a bar mitzvah. And I never had one. I studied for it, but I never actually followed through and had my bar mitzvah. So as we know, bar mitzvah is or a bat mitzvah is when a boy becomes a man.
Yep.
A girl becomes a woman in the Jewish faith, right? And I feel like I've sort of made up for not having a bar mitzvah now that I've become a father, because it really does make a man out of you, and in so many ways. And yeah, I've only had to think about myself, and I never really put that much stock in the future and what the future held for me personally. I've just always been sort of those. I've always been really easy, really. How do I say this? Just free, just sort of live pretty free,
Yeah.
We all have similar worries about our futures, but I never let that really worry me as much. And now I worry about it in a great way, just because I want to make sure that I can make her future the most secure it can be, as long as I can help it. And obviously that includes her parents too. So yeah, you just, and you're right. There's no way to simulate that. And it's hard to describe to people who aren't parents, because there's no other way to sort of, I don't know if there's another way to get those kind of feels until you look in your own child's eyes, like you said, and you really start seeing the world through them. And I know it sounds so cliche, but it's, and in a selfish way, I sort of like, I get to sort of like relive my life. Like I get to see, like kind of like, I kind of like get to do it over and
Yeah.
appreciate the smallest things we take for granted. And it's a beautiful thing. Because I wouldn't walk down the street and think, that's a beautiful tree. That's a great smelling flower. Um, Look at those rocks. You know what I mean? And every day we do that, and it's beautiful.
That's awesome. I love that because it's true. That's how our kids see the world. Everything is magical and beautiful and special because they don't have all this baggage and, the shitty things that have happened to all of us in our lives because we've been here a few decades. Like they get to experience like all that wonder for the first time. And you're right, getting to do it with them is so amazing and so special. And I love how it's transformed you. Obviously, like, we've been friends with you for I think now like 13, 14 years, and you were always like a beautiful human with a massive heart and this capacity to love and a great friend. But I can just see, I think, more how you're intentional in your life now that you're a dad. And I think it probably makes you a better musician too, because I feel like now the music comes from more of a pure place, right? Because as a parent, I read something beautiful that really touched me, which is that when you become a parent, it's like you break off a piece of your heart and it's just walking around in the world outside your body, right? So you're always trying to protect your little mini heart. And so now it's like when you sing, every song is like also from her because your love of her is like your love of the world. It's now coming through in your music, and that just makes it like such a deeper, richer, more beautiful
Well, and
experience.
and also when you think about any art, whether it's writing or music or painting, whatever it is, it comes from a place of your experience, right? The more depth of experience you have, and I think that's why, you had said like you didn't have the greatest, life, and had hard times, and but that typically for an artist comes through their art and makes their art, they have more to say because it hasn't just been like, lollipops and rainbows. And so, I think, we have a limited amount of time on this planet. We're lucky to be alive, but the depth of the human connections that you have, friends, family, whatever, that will be the judgment of the amount of meaning that you have in your life. And
Yeah.
there is no greater connection you will ever have than to your own children. I mean, Amy and I love each other, and we're soulmates and we love each other, but it's different with a child. It just is. The connection that you have with them is so special. And so I'm just trying to say I'm so happy for you. And I know there's like long nights and it's not always easy and it's hard.
But
The
it's worth
the
it.
truest
It's the
statement I
best
ever heard
thing.
about parenthood is, long days, short years, because some of these days you feel like they'll never end. And then you wake up and they're like, Maxwell's 10. And you're like,
Yeah,
what? But,
yeah,
but it's just, I think it's such a beautiful thing for you as a person. And I agree with Amy 100%. I could see it really translating into your music because you have more to say now. You have more depth as a human being, because it's just what happens when you become a parent.
yeah. Definitely agree with that. I mean, I haven't, like I said, I haven't written music in a couple years now, but I just got back to performing in the middle of August, and I played a bunch of shows since then, which I'm so grateful for, to be back out performing again. And yeah, I can feel it. I can feel a difference myself just when I hit the stage and perform. I'm always thinking of her. Um, I'm always thinking about how I'm representing her as well. And yeah, she just makes everything better. Like, especially the connective tissue that you speak of, like all the connective tissue in my life has gotten even stronger because of her, and our bond. And yeah, oof, man, all the feels. I mean, and it's true. Every cliche you've heard. So, all of them. The number one thing I heard when Karen was pregnant was, "Oh, they grow so fast, grow by so fast," and it really is true. And that's another thing you really can't understand until you're doing it. And like you said, those long nights and days and those tough times and tantrums uh, and just all the things that sort of come with that, can tend to run together. And before you know it, it's like, okay, she just grew a couple inches. Where did my baby go? So it's like, you really learn how to take a step back and appreciate all that's around you, you know?
Absolutely. And speaking of appreciating everything, you also do so much for so many amazing organizations that are on the front lines providing critical aid where it's needed most. And you always turn up and donate your time and your talent. I mean, you've sang at I don't know how many of our events over the last decade, dozens and dozens, and have done such a beautiful job in helping us raise money for great causes. So let's chat for a moment about your incredible trip to Africa with Idol Gives Back and Malaria No More. What did that experience mean to you?
Wow, that talk about an eye-opening experience. It meant that it made me feel like an a-hole first and foremost, because the term survivor's guilt. You come back from a place like that, and you really sort of start to feel, if you have a beating heart, guilty about all your possessions and the things you worry about day to day, and the material things that you attain throughout your life, because um, not because the people that we met over there have so little, um, but they were so happy and didn't know any better, and were just, their spirits were so alive. And so yeah, that I went twice actually. I went the first time I went with Fantasia, and that trip just blew my mind. I mean, we met amazing people over there who are doing some amazing things for so many underprivileged communities and villages in Angola. But while we were there, we met this incredible nun named Sister Dominguez, who was running an orphanage for displaced children who had lost parents from the wars, from famine, um, from things that we just don't have to even think about here in the States. And she made such an indelible impression on me and our crew that was there. I thought, well, why, you know, she runs an orphanage over there, but the orphanage was like halfway built, right? There were these stairs and just stairs that was supposed to lead to an upstairs in the building that they were in, but they couldn't finish. They didn't have enough money to finish construction on the property, so the stairs were just there, with no connection. And so I thought, why can't we help them finish this school? I'm sure it would cost peanuts to us. Um, so long story short, we ExxonMobil was a big sponsor of that show, the Idol Gives Back show, and we went over there with some of those reps from there, and I mean, they had more money than Oprah and God put together, right? So I just thought, well, you never know until you ask, and I've got no shame in asking for help. And I just thought, why not ask them to help underwrite this project and help them finish the build out of the school? And they happily obliged. And then a couple years later, I got to go back to Angola with Cara Daughtry, and we got to sort of re-grand open the school that they had finished building with the money that they got from not only Idle Gives Back from the donations, but a little help from ExxonMobil, and we got to go back and see the finished product, which was amazing.
That's incredible, Elliott. I never knew that you were instrumental in helping the school finish being built, and that you asked for that corporate support. That's an amazing story, and how beautiful that you got to go back and see the kids getting to learn at this amazing school. That must have felt so good in your heart to experience that.
Yeah, it really did. It was, it was just another sort of affirming moment for me, personally, to know that, again, just it all ties back to what a gift this life is, and what a gift my voice is, and so many other ways outside of just singing and performing and writing music. Um, all of the opportunities I've had, um, not specific music related, that have come from my experience on American Idol, has been really important to me. It gave me a platform to talk about type 1 diabetes. I've been living with type 1 diabetes now for 28 years. And I just made a conscious, a real conscious effort to try and talk about it when I could on the show, just to know that, hey, like, I thought when I was diagnosed at 15 and a half that I wasn't going to be able to live a full life and, reach my goals and my dreams. And the opposite was true. And I just thought, okay, if one person can be touched by this or get inspired, who has diabetes, specifically type 1, then and they could see someone like me just doing what they're doing, maybe that'll inspire someone else. So I've been really lucky to, again, just really lucky to to use my platform in such positive ways to help create change, positive change, and that's always been really important to me. And again, I learned that all from being on the show. I mean, it did so much more for me than just give me a career. It was so many more. There were so many more positives that came out of that whole experience, and you know, I'm in gratitude. I'm in knee deep in gratitude for the rest of my life for, um, for all those opportunities that experience created for me, and so many others. So, um, yeah, here I am, still doing it, still trying to hang on.
And to
Uh,
show you the depths of your commitment to a good cause, it was 2010. You were stuck in Chile after the earthquake, and you were scheduled to perform at our Oscar party for foster kids. And you literally just made it back like 2 hours before the party to LA. And you still showed up and performed after living through this harrowing experience. And we're like, this is the epitome of class, of professionalism, of somebody who truly cares. Like, you still showed up and you put on an amazing show. And it's like, that's who you are. Like, I mean, people just have to know, like, that's the type of human you are. Like, you came back from a natural disaster and you still showed up for the kids. And you gave a full on, like, incredible show.
Dude, I would have never remembered that unless you just brought that up, because that was such a whirlwind experience, and that was such a blur. Like, everything that happened, like, shortly after, was sort of a blur, because I came back from Chile with like serious PTSD. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I was stuck in Chile. Well, I was there for a week performing at a festival, and then on the last night of the festival, we had an 8.8 earthquake that damaged the hotel that we were staying in. So subsequently, we were stuck there for a full other week because the airport was really damaged and they couldn't get the flights out. So I was there for 2 full weeks. And I came home just, for lack of a better, shook.
Yeah.
So I don't, I remember that now that you bring that up, but I totally forgot about that. I forgot that, you guys had that event that I was scheduled to perform at, and somehow still made it.
Yeah, and do you remember you talked to my friend from ABC News and you were literally like giving on the ground reporting of
Yeah.
what was going on in Chile. And then I was making calls trying to get like a private plane to, bring you and anyone else who is stranded home because we were concerned obviously with the insulin that you needed potentially running out while you were there. And so we are like, "Oh my God, we need Elliott to get back here."
Yeah, for sure. That was the scariest part because I always, for any kind of road trip, whether it's just a day or a night or a few days, I always pack extra insulin and extra diabetic supplies for unforeseen events.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for an 8.8 earthquake that could get you stuck for a whole week. So, yeah, I started scrambling towards the middle of the week there. Really worried that I wasn't going to be able to. I'm in this foreign country. I don't speak the language. I don't know how I don't know how they deal with diabetes over here, and how am I going to get the supplies I need for my specific insulin pump that I wear and things like that. So that was a bit nerve wracking. And yeah, no, I remember all the, like, I got so much help from so many friends while I was there trying to help out. Yeah, I mean, luckily it all worked out. I met up with a Medtronic rep. Shout out to Medtronic, who who makes my my insulin pump. And I got some more supplies while I was there, and I was able to rest a little easier. But yeah, what a trip that was.
So, final question, E, that we ask everybody. What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, first of all, I think, well, my music will always be a part of it. It'll be out there forever. So that's pretty special in itself. Like, I got to create something from nothing, and here it is out in the world, and it ain't going anywhere. So that's pretty cool. But outside of that, more importantly, I think I just want people to know that when they think of me and speak of me, that I was a good dude and I did things the right way. Try to, at least. We all have our flaws and our faults, and we make mistakes, and I try to own up to them, be accountable when I can. But it's real simple. I think I just want my legacy to be, what a good guy that dude was.
Check out Elliott's music on Spotify or on iTunes. It is soulful. It is beautiful. You're gonna love it. I promise you will be an instant fan. And thank you so much, Elliott, for the authenticity and the vulnerability that you shared on the show today. You're just a beautiful, soulful human being, and we love you very much. And keep it locked here. Don't touch that dial or that internet, because we're going to be back next week with another amazing show.
And don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating if you love the show, and subscribe to us. We're on YouTube as well if you want to see us and our guests, or you can just listen in wherever podcasts are available.
See you next week.